Welcome to our channel. Today we're diving into Your Next 5 Moves by David.
Oh, this is a good one.
It is. This book is like a roadmap for anyone, really. Aspiring entrepreneurs, seasoned CEOs. If you want to level up in business, this book is for you.
You know, one of the things that really struck me about David's approach is his emphasis on strategic thinking.
Oh, absolutely. He talks about like a chess grandmaster, right? Always thinking many moves ahead.
Exactly. He argues that in business, the sweet spot is thinking 5 moves ahead.
5 moves ahead. Enough to be strategic, but not so much that you get bogged down.
Right. It's that balance between planning and action.
Totally. He really hammers home the point that a lot of people are just reacting to what's right in front of them. But to be successful, you need to anticipate,
Yeah.
what challenges are coming, what opportunities are out there.
Absolutely. Thinking 5 moves ahead gives you that competitive edge. You're not just reacting, you're in control.
I love that he uses his own life as a framework for this.
Mhm.
He talks about his incredible journey. I mean, from a war-torn childhood in Iran
Wow, yeah.
to becoming this super successful entrepreneur in America.
And his story is so powerful because it's relatable, you know?
It
He
is.
talks about fleeing Iran during the war, living in a refugee camp, and then ultimately building a successful life in a whole new country.
Right. And he doesn't shy away from the tough stuff either.
Yeah.
He talks about the challenges, the setbacks, all those moments that make you question everything.
And that's what makes it so real. It shows that resilience and determination are so crucial, especially for entrepreneurs.
Totally. And that ties directly into what he says about self-awareness.
Mhm.
He argues that you need to truly understand yourself, your values, goals, what drives you to make the best decisions.
Absolutely. He even has this tool he calls the personal identity audit.
Right.
It's a series of questions that force you to think deeply about what you really want. Like, what does success actually mean to you? Because it's different for everyone.
Right. Absolutely. I love that this emphasizes that there's no one-size-fits-all definition of success.
Exactly. It's about aligning your actions with what truly matters to you, which, can be a tough journey.
But for sure. And one story that really stood out to me was when David was promised a promotion, and at the last minute, it fell through.
Ooh, that's rough.
It was. But it was a turning point for him and made him realize he was chasing someone else's idea of success, not his own.
That's such a valuable lesson. It's so easy to get caught up in external expectations and lose sight of what truly matters.
And if you're on that journey of self-discovery and looking for inspiration, I highly recommend checking out the Affirmified Journey YouTube channel.
Oh, good call.
I've got fantastic content on personal growth and achieving your goals.
It's a great resource.
It is. Now, once you have that solid understanding of yourself, David encourages us to leverage our experiences.
Both good and bad.
Yeah. He believes even our toughest moments can be used as fuel.
He calls them never again moments.
I love that. He uses some pretty powerful examples, like Elon Musk, Barbara Corcoran, and how they channeled adversity into motivation.
It's a reminder that setbacks are going to happen, but it's how we respond to them that matters.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He also talks about the importance of having heroes, people who inspire you to reach your full potential.
Yeah, like role models. He even has this painting in his office, right?
He does.
With images of 10 of his personal heroes. He says it's a constant reminder of the impact he wants to make.
And it's a powerful visual.
Right.
Right. It shows that we can choose who we surround ourselves with, even if it's just through images or stories.
Totally. It's about creating an environment that supports your growth and pushes you to be your best.
Exactly. So you figured out who you are, what drives you, now what?
Right. What path will you choose to achieve your goals?
And here, David dives into something that's often overlooked: entrepreneurship.
Thriving within a company. Right.
Yeah. Finding a company that embraces innovation and allows you to operate in an entrepreneurial way.
It's an interesting concept because we're often told we should all be entrepreneurs.
Right. But David challenges that assumption. He says that for many people, the best path might be finding the right company that aligns with your values, a place where you can make a real contribution while working within an established structure.
Makes sense. He even shares his own experience with a corporate environment that was just stifling,
Yeah. And it ultimately led him to start his own company. But his point is that entrepreneurship isn't the only path to success. It's about finding the right fit for you.
Absolutely. And that leads perfectly into his concept of game selection.
Oh, yeah, the poker analogy.
Exactly. He says that winning isn't about being the best overall. It's about strategically choosing the right game to play, a game where you have an advantage.
Where you can shine.
Exactly. So understanding your talents and finding your niche, that's crucial.
He tells this great story about how he targeted the Latino market in the insurance industry. It was a blue ocean at the time, completely untapped. Yeah. He used his own background and understanding of that community to really create a competitive advantage.
Powerful example of how identifying an underserved market and tailoring your approach can lead to huge growth.
Absolutely. So you've chosen your path, you've found your niche. What's next?
Processing.
Yes. And he's not just talking about processing emotions. It's about developing the mental and emotional tools you need to make good decisions, especially when things get tough.
Especially in a crisis, right? He uses this really compelling example, Joe Rogan's response to a lawsuit.
Oh, yeah. Instead of getting caught up in blame or trying to run away, Rogan just dove in and researched. He wanted to fully understand the issue.
It turned into a learning opportunity.
Exactly. And it shows that we have a choice in how we react to adversity. We can let it consume us, or we can use it to grow and improve.
Powerful stuff. And Bet David doesn't just leave it at that. He gives us practical tools like investment time return or ITR.
Oh, I love ITR. It's such a helpful framework for analyzing decisions that involve time and money.
It helps you quantify things, right? So you can make more informed choices. He uses an example of a potential investment to streamline policy processing. He breaks down how to weigh all the different factors involved.
It's about taking a data-driven approach, moving beyond gut feelings. And he takes this analytical mindset even further with solve for X.
Oh, yeah. It's like approaching problems like a mathematician.
Exactly. You break down the problem to find the root cause, the unknown variable.
I like the story about Charlie. Remember Charlie?
Burned out, unhappy Charlie.
Yeah. At first he thought it was his job. But then, after thinking about it, he realized he'd gained weight and stopped working out. Simple, right?
But once he addressed the root cause, everything changed.
It's a great reminder that we need to correctly identify the problem before we can even think about solving it. Sometimes the obvious answer isn't the right one.
Totally. And sometimes the solution isn't about fixing something, it's about building something new. Which brings us to the benefits program.
This isn't about traditional employee benefits, is it?
Nope. It's about the value proposition you offer to everyone you interact with. What are you bringing to the table? How are you making their lives better? It's a whole mindset shift from what you can take to what you can give.
I like that a lot.
Me too. And he challenges us to think about the 5 crucial questions that potential employees will ask. What's in it for me? Who are you? What have you done? Can I win with you? And can I trust you?
Wow. Those are tough questions.
They are. But they force you to really assess what you're offering and see yourself from the other person's perspective.
It's about becoming the kind of person or the kind of company that people want to be associated with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which naturally leads us to the importance of having trusted advisors. Bet David makes this interesting comparison. He compares them to the consigliere in a mob family.
Okay, that's a little unexpected.
It is.
Yeah.
But it highlights the need for wise counsel, especially when you're navigating the complexities of building a business.
Yeah, having the right people in your corner can make all the difference.
He highlights these iconic partnerships. Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, Bill Gates and Paul Allen. You know, those power duos that have achieved massive success.
Yeah, they make it look easy, but I bet there's a lot of trust and collaboration going on behind the scenes.
Oh, for sure. But Bet David also throws in a cautionary tale. Donnie Brasco, the undercover FBI agent who infiltrated the mafia.
Right. Shows that even people who seem trustworthy can have hidden agendas.
Totally. So it's crucial to do your due diligence when you're choosing advisors. Make sure their interests align with yours.
And that they have a proven track record.
Exactly. All right, so you've got your team in place, you've got your advisors. Now what?
Time to build that company culture.
Yes. And Bet David goes beyond the typical, love your employees approach. He actually compares corporate culture to religion.
Interesting.
It is. He argues that it's about creating a shared set of principles and values, something deeper than just liking each other.
So it's about creating a sense of belonging, a shared purpose.
Exactly. He uses Microsoft's early culture as an example, that intense, innovation-driven, high-standards environment. It was a huge part of their success.
So a strong culture can really create a competitive advantage.
Totally. And one key element he highlights is radical transparency. He believes that honesty and open communication are essential for building trust.
That makes sense.
He even talks about his own experience implementing radical transparency in his company. He says it can be challenging, but ultimately worth it. It creates an environment where people feel comfortable sharing their ideas, even the critical
That's
ones.
so important, creating a space where people can openly share and debate ideas.
Absolutely. And speaking of challenges, Bet David doesn't shy away from the importance of contingency planning.
Oh, right. Planning for the worst case scenarios, like a prenup for your business.
Exactly. He argues that having clear agreements and documentation in all your business relationships can really help prevent conflicts down the road.
That's smart. It's about being realistic and acknowledging that not all partnerships will last forever.
Totally. So we've talked about building a team, establishing a culture, planning for the unexpected. Now let's dive into the tricky concept of trust.
Trust is so important, but it can be so easily broken.
Bet David acknowledges that. He says that building trust is essential, but he also cautions against being naive. He introduces these 4 levels of trust.
What are those?
He explains why it becomes harder to trust as you become more successful. It's like the higher you climb, the more people might try to take advantage of you.
I guess that makes sense. So how do you navigate that?
Well, he suggests learning the love languages for entrepreneurs.
Love languages for business. What does that even mean?
It's about understanding what motivates the people you work with,
Hmm.
what makes them feel appreciated and valued.
So tailoring your approach to build stronger relationships.
Exactly. All right, let's shift gears a bit. Bet David emphasizes the importance of speed in today's business world.
Oh, yeah. The pace of everything is just accelerating.
He uses a cool analogy, Ferraris from different eras.
I like where this is going.
Right, to illustrate how the pace of innovation and competition is just constantly increasing. He argues that speed is essential for seizing opportunities and adapting to change.
So you got to be quick on your feet.
Exactly. He even gives us this 7-step system for compressing time frames in business processes.
So working smarter, not harder.
Exactly. And once you've optimized for speed, it's time to plan for growth.
Ow.
Bet David uses that famous Wayne Gretzky quote.
Skate to where the puck is going to be.
Yes. It highlights the importance of anticipating future trends and positioning yourself accordingly.
Don't get stuck in the past, right?
He shares this cautionary tale about an entrepreneur named Romeo who overspent on office space and almost ruined his business.
Ouch.
It's a reminder to be strategic with your investments and not get ahead of yourself. Now, speaking of things that can hold you back, he outlines 5 common momentum killers.
What are those?
Entitlement, arrogance, self-pity, sticking with a failing strategy, and constantly comparing yourself to others.
Oh, yeah. I can see how those would definitely derail your progress.
He contrasts Warren Buffett's consistent, disciplined approach with the self-destructive path of talk show host Morton Downey Jr.
Who?
He was really popular back in the day, but he let arrogance and bad decisions ruin his career.
It's a good reminder that maintaining momentum takes humility and adaptability.
Absolutely.
So we've talked about personal growth, strategic thinking, and building a strong foundation. Where do we go from here?
Well, next we're going to dive into some unexpected sources of wisdom. Bet David actually talks about valuable lessons we can learn from the mafia.
Wait, the mafia?
I know it sounds crazy, right? But he's not glorifying organized crime. He recognizes that they're masters of certain skills that are actually crucial in business. Things like persuasion, negotiation, and building relationships.
Never thought of it that way.
He draws from his interviews with former mobsters, guys like Sammy the Bull Gravano and Michael Franzese. And he extracts insights about loyalty, strategy, and risk management.
Wow, that's a pretty unique perspective.
It is. But he balances it out by emphasizing the importance of integrity.
Right, because in the long run, your reputation is everything.
Exactly. And that takes us into his discussion about building a strong network. He actually believes that our network is our net worth.
Interesting, because it opens doors to new opportunities.
Exactly. He encourages us to be strategic about building relationships with people who can help us achieve our goals.
And not just using people, right?
Right.
It's about building genuine connections.
Absolutely. And speaking of adding value, Bet David talks about the importance of sales. He considers it a fundamental skill for any entrepreneur.
I can see that.
He says that, at its core, sales is about persuasion, influence, and communication.
Those are definitely skills that are valuable in any field.
He gives tips on how to improve your sales skills, like building rapport, presenting your value proposition effectively, and, the big one closing deals.
Right, because at the end of the day, you got to make the sale.
He also emphasizes building long-term relationships with your customers, because repeat business and referrals are key to sustainable growth.
Makes sense.
And he reminds us that effective selling isn't about manipulation. It's about genuinely helping people solve their problems and achieve their goals.
It's about creating win-win situations. I like that.
Now, shifting to something super important in today's world, building a strong personal brand.
Oh, yeah. In the digital age, your online presence is everything.
Bet David argues that having a clear online presence and being able to articulate your value proposition is essential.
So how do you do that?
He offers some practical advice, like creating a compelling online profile, sharing your expertise through content, and using social media strategically.
Right. And I think authenticity is key.
He stresses that too. People can spot a fake a mile away.
It's about building trust and credibility by consistently delivering value.
Exactly. And as your business grows, it becomes crucial to delegate effectively.
Oh, that's a tough one for a lot of entrepreneurs. Letting go of control.
He says that many of us fall into the trap of trying to do everything ourselves, which leads to burnout and prevents us from scaling effectively.
Yeah, I can't do it all.
He encourages us to identify our strengths, focus on what we excel at, and delegate the rest.
Easier said than done.
True. But he does offer some good advice on choosing the right people to delegate to, communicating clearly, and providing the necessary support and guidance.
So it's not just about dumping tasks on people, it's about empowering them to succeed.
Exactly. Now, all this leads to one of the most important themes in the book, building a strong team.
The foundation of any successful business, right?
Bet David believes that you can't achieve great things alone. You need to surround yourself with talented people who share your vision.
People who challenge you and push you to be better.
Exactly. He gives advice on building a team, like how to identify the right people to hire, how to create a positive work environment, and how to motivate and inspire your team members.
So it's not just about skills, it's about finding people who fit the culture.
And building trust is crucial. Strong relationships are at the heart of any great team.
It's about creating a sense of camaraderie and shared purpose.
And Bet David makes a point of emphasizing the importance of diversity in teams.
Diversity of thought, diversity of experience.
All of it. He argues that diverse teams are more innovative, more creative, and more effective at solving problems.
And it makes sense, right? Bringing together different perspectives leads to better solutions.
He encourages us to seek out people with different backgrounds and experiences.
And it's not just about checking boxes, it's about creating an inclusive environment where everyone feels valued.
Absolutely.
Heh.
And that's a perfect segue into one of the key takeaways from the book, the power of thinking 5 moves ahead.
The chess grandmaster strategy.
Exactly. This is about being strategic, anticipating challenges and opportunities, and having a plan.
So not just reacting to what's right in front of you.
Bet David believes most people are stuck thinking just 1 or 2 moves ahead, which is why they're constantly playing catch-up.
He encourages us to become chess masters, to think about the long-term consequences of our actions.
And he gives us a framework for this, right? Like asking ourselves, what are my goals? What are the potential obstacles? What are my options?
It's about thinking through the different scenarios and being prepared.
He wants us to become more deliberate and thoughtful in our decision-making. And what's really interesting is that he applies this thinking 5 moves ahead concept to all areas of life, not just business.
Oh, like personal finances, relationships.
Exactly. He talks about planning for the future, both financially and personally. He also emphasizes the importance of building strong relationships, professionally and personally.
Makes sense. Those are the relationships that sustain us.
And one of the more challenging aspects of his message is his emphasis on personal accountability.
Owning your choices, right.
He argues that we're ultimately responsible for our own success or failure. We can't blame external circumstances for our shortcomings.
It's about taking control of your life.
Exactly. He challenges us to set ambitious goals and develop the discipline to achieve them. He also wants us to confront our fears and step outside of our comfort zones.
Because that's where the growth happens.
He reminds us that failure is part of the journey, not something to be feared, but an opportunity to learn and grow.
And he reminds us that anything is possible, right? If we're willing to put in the work.
That's the beauty of it. Now, one thing that makes this book so unique is that it blends Eastern and Western philosophies. Bet David draws inspiration from all sorts of sources, from ancient Stoic philosophers to modern-day business leaders.
He's got a broad range of influences.
He does, and he incorporates insights from his own Iranian heritage, creating a really interesting and thought-provoking approach.
So it's a book that can resonate with people from all walks of life.
Exactly. And while he encourages big-picture thinking, he's also very grounded in the importance of execution.
Putting those ideas into action.
Exactly. He doesn't just talk about concepts, he gives us strategies and tactics to make it happen.
So it's a book that can actually change the way you approach your life and your business.
Absolutely. So, we were just talking about building a solid foundation, but Bet David doesn't stop there. He also dives into the art of negotiation.
Yeah, crucial skill for sure. Whether we were closing a big business deal or, just navigating everyday life.
He makes this really interesting connection. He compares high-stakes business negotiations to the world of organized crime.
Whoa, the mob. Okay, I'm intrigued.
He argues that mobsters are masters of persuasion and negotiation.
Well, yeah, their livelihoods depend on it.
Exactly. He uses this concept of the sit-down from the mob world.
Those intense meetings where deals are made and disputes are settled.
Right. He shares his anecdote about former mobster Michael Franzese describing a really tense meeting with his boss.
High stakes.
Big time. And the takeaway is the importance of preparation, really understanding the other party's motivations. Bet David outlines 7 essential steps to prepare for any negotiation.
7 steps. Wow.
Things like anticipating the other person's needs and role-playing different scenarios.
So it's like a mental rehearsal.
Totally. It's about being strategic, thinking several steps ahead, and aiming for a win-win outcome.
Whenever possible, right? Because sometimes you got to play hardball.
He even shares a personal story about negotiating with a major insurance company.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one. He was really up against the wall.
He went in with a clear understanding of their concerns and a plan to address them. And it worked. He got the deal.
Preparation is key. That's a good reminder.
Now let's switch gears to something else that's super important. Momentum.
Love it.
Bet David argues that momentum in business is like a force multiplier. It amplifies your efforts and propels you toward success. But he also warns against getting complacent.
Right, you can't just coast.
He identifies 5 common momentum killers:
Uh-oh, hit me with them.
entitlement, arrogance, self-pity, sticking with a failing strategy, and constantly comparing yourself to others.
Oh, yeah, I can see how those would definitely hold you back.
It's all about staying humble, being willing to adapt, and learning from your mistakes.
Absolutely. Which reminds me of what he says about data-driven execution.
Oh, yeah. He talks about his fascination with baseball statistics and how it inspired him to use analytics in business.
He's a big numbers guy. I think he even played baseball growing up, right?
He did. And he highlights the Moneyball story.
Oh, yeah. The Oakland A's, right. Using data to find undervalued players.
Exactly. They gained a competitive edge by looking at the numbers in a new way.
Smart. Data can reveal hidden opportunities, that's for sure.
He encourages us to use data to track our progress, identify areas for improvement, and make more informed decisions. And when it comes to scaling a business, Bet David stresses the importance of codifying your knowledge.
Codifying, what does that mean?
Creating systems and processes that capture your expertise, making it transferable to others.
So it's not all in your head anymore. You can actually share it and teach it to others.
Exactly. He uses examples like Leonardo da Vinci and Bill Belichick, these brilliant minds, but their genius was hard to replicate because it wasn't systematized.
Interesting point. So even if you're a solopreneur, it's good to think about how you can capture your knowledge and create systems.
He also talks about the importance of staying paranoid, even when things are going well.
Wait, paranoid is not a bad thing?
Not in this context. It's about being vigilant, always scanning for potential threats, never getting complacent.
Staying on your toes, because you never know what's coming around the corner.
He reminds us that disruption can happen to anyone, anytime. He points to the high turnover rate of Fortune 500 companies as proof. Companies that were once giants can fall quickly.
Yeah, you got to stay agile and adapt to change.
Absolutely. Now, here's something that might surprise you. Bet David advises building alliances, even with your competitors.
Wait, what? Working with the enemy?
Sometimes you need to put your ego aside and seek help from unexpected sources. He gives the example of Steve Jobs seeking an investment from Microsoft when Apple was struggling.
Oh, wow. Hadn't thought of that. So it's about recognizing that collaboration can be mutually beneficial.
Exactly. He also points to the partnership between Amazon and Toys R Us back in the dot-com days.
Wasn't that a short-lived disaster?
It was, but it actually helped Amazon survive. It shows how finding common ground, even with a competitor, can lead to unexpected success.
Interesting. Okay, so what about mentors and advisors?
Bet David emphasizes their importance throughout the book.
Yeah, having those experienced voices in your corner.
He even introduces this helpful framework for evaluating their expertise. It's called theory, witness, application.
So not just theoretical knowledge, but people who have actually walked the walk.
Exactly. He wants us to seek guidance from those who have a proven track record of success. He also reminds us to separate ego from business decisions.
Right, you got to be able to take a step back and make objective decisions.
He talks about the importance of not taking things personally and not letting emotions cloud your judgment.
Easier said than done, but I see the value in that.
Now, he gets into the whole David versus Goliath dynamic, offering strategies for taking on the giants in your industry.
That's the underdog story we all love.
He provides 12 specific tactics for defeating Goliath. Understanding your weaknesses, attacking Goliath's weak points, building a strong narrative.
So it's about leveraging your agility and underdog status to your advantage.
He also encourages us to be shameless in promoting ourselves and our businesses, but in an authentic and value-driven way.
So no bragging or hype, just sharing your expertise and what you have to offer.
He gives practical tips on how to do that, like using storytelling to highlight your accomplishments.
Storytelling is so powerful.
And recommending relevant books. Establishing your expertise in a subtle way.
Subtlety is key. So you've got the strategy, you're building your network, you're putting yourself out there. What's next?
Well, David reminds us that none of this is possible without self-discipline. Success requires focus and consistency. You need to be able to filter out distractions.
Well, yeah, the siren song of social media and all that.
And he talks about the difference between future truth and positive affirmations.
What's the difference? They sound pretty similar.
It's not just about repeating positive mantras. It's about actually embodying your desired future self in the present moment.
So it's about aligning your actions with your aspirations, acting as if you've already achieved your goals.
He wants us to create a vivid mental picture of our ideal future and really immerse ourselves in that vision.
Powerful stuff.
He also reminds us to break down our goals into smaller, achievable steps. He emphasizes that incremental growth is key.
Little by little, right? Consistency over time.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that success is a journey, not a destination.
And speaking of the journey, David talks about finding fulfillment in the process, not just the outcome.
Oh, absolutely. Enjoy the ride.
Because otherwise, what's the point? He also talks about the importance of managing our energy and our emotions. Entrepreneurship can be a real roller coaster.
He encourages us to prioritize our well-being,
Yeah.
making time for rest and relaxation.
Self-care.
And he talks about building emotional resilience, being able to handle setbacks and challenges without letting them completely derail you.
That's a muscle you have to build.
Absolutely. He gives some practical tips for managing stress, staying positive, and staying motivated even when things get tough.
So inner strength is just as important as those business strategies.
100%. He also reminds us of the importance of having that clear vision, that picture of where you want to go.
Right, because if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there.
He encourages us to articulate our goals and values.
Yeah.
Paint a clear picture of that future state.
It's like a North Star, right? Guiding your decisions.
Exactly. And of course, David acknowledges that achieving success often requires taking risks.
Stepping outside that comfort zone.
He reminds us that no one ever achieved anything extraordinary by playing it safe. But of course, he's not advocating for recklessness.
Right. Calculated risks.
He offers advice on how to manage those risks, assess potential downsides, mitigate potential losses, have a plan B just in case.
So it's not about being fearless. It's about being strategic and prepared.
Now, he also encourages us to adopt an investor's mindset, even if we're not in finance.
Interesting. So thinking about every decision as an investment.
He wants us to carefully consider the potential return on our investments, both in terms of tangible results and personal growth.
So what are you getting out of this?
Exactly. And are you willing to risk that much for this potential outcome? It's about being smart about where you put your time, your energy, your resources.
It's a good framework to apply to any decision, really.
And as we build our businesses and make those investments, David reminds us that we need to be building a strong personal brand.
Oh, yeah. It's not enough to be good at what you do. You have to be able to tell your story.
Exactly. And he gives advice on how to do that, crafting a compelling narrative, using social media effectively, building relationships with those key influencers.
So it's about getting your name and your message out there.
He stresses that authenticity is key, building trust by consistently delivering value and showing that expertise.
Because people buy from people they know, like, and trust.
Now, one of the most intriguing concepts he introduces is this idea of future truth.
I'm curious about this one. What does that mean?
It's about envisioning your ideal future self and then, taking actions that are aligned with that vision.
So believing it into existence,
Uh,
like manifesting.
He believes that by really focusing on our desired future, we can attract the people, the resources, the opportunities that we need to make it happen. It's about shifting your mindset and behaving as if you've already achieved your goals.
I like that. It's about creating that self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly. And speaking of powerful forces, Bet David highlights the significance of mentorship.
Oh, mentors are crucial.
He believes that having a mentor can provide guidance, support, accountability, all those things that can make a big difference on your journey.
Yeah, having someone who's been there and done that.
He encourages us to seek out mentors who have achieved the kind of success we aspire to. People who can offer insights based on their own experiences.
But he also talks about the importance of being a good mentee, right?
Absolutely. It's a two-way street. You have to be respectful of your mentor's time, be open to feedback, and be willing to put in the work to implement their guidance.
And what I find really inspiring is his emphasis on paying it forward. Becoming mentors ourselves.
It's about sharing our knowledge and experience with those who are coming up behind us. It's about recognizing that mentorship is a cycle of giving and receiving.
Yeah, and creating a legacy of success.
Now, one of the core messages that really stood out to me is his definition of success.
It's not just about money and fame, right?
He reminds us that true success is about living a fulfilling and meaningful life, a life that aligns with your values.
Defining success on your own terms.
Exactly. It's about finding your purpose and living with intention, leaving a legacy that you can be proud of.
He really challenges us to think about what matters most. And that's what makes his approach so powerful. He doesn't just offer strategies, he offers a philosophy for living a better life.
It's inspiring stuff. It really is. It's a book that can change the way you approach life and business.
Totally. It challenges us to think differently about success and provides a roadmap for achieving it on our own terms. And one thing that makes Bet David's approach so unique is how he blends those Eastern and Western philosophies.
Oh, absolutely. He's drawing inspiration from everywhere. Ancient Stoic philosophers, modern-day business leaders.
He's got this really diverse range of influences, which makes it super interesting.
It does. And of course, he brings in insights from his own Iranian heritage, creating this unique blend of perspectives.
It's refreshing. And it reminds us that there are many paths to success. We can learn from all sorts of sources.
Exactly. And, while Bet David encourages us to think big, he's also very grounded in the importance of execution.
Right. Putting those ideas into action. He doesn't just talk about these high-level concepts. He gives us concrete strategies and tactics.
He breaks it down step by step. Like when he talks about building a strong network, he sees that as key to anyone's success.
He really emphasizes that our network is our net worth. It opens so many doors.
To opportunities, to collaborations, things that just wouldn't be possible otherwise.
He gives some really practical tips on networking, too. How to identify the right people to connect with, how to build those relationships.
How to nurture them over time.
Exactly. And it's not just about taking, it's about giving back, adding value to the lives of others.
He really stresses that. Now,
Yeah.
one area that he really dives deep into is the importance of sales.
Oh, yeah. Sales are the lifeblood of any business,
He argues that it's a fundamental skill for every entrepreneur.
no matter what industry you're in.
He sees sales as more than just transactions. It's about persuasion. It's about influence. It's about building those
So
relationships.
that's about connecting with people.
He gives a bunch of really specific tips on how to improve your sales skills.
Like, what are some of those tips?
Everything from how to identify potential customers to how to build rapport, how to present your value proposition effectively, and of course the big one, how to close those deals.
He doesn't shy away from the nitty-gritty. Not at all. He also emphasizes the importance of building long-term relationships with customers. Getting that repeat business, those referrals. It's all crucial for sustainable growth.
Makes a lot of sense.
And he reminds us that selling isn't about being pushy or manipulative.
Right. It's not about tricking people into buying something they don't need.
Exactly. It's about genuinely helping people solve their problems and achieve their goals.
It's about creating win-win situations.
Okay, so now let's talk about something that's super important in today's world. Building a personal brand.
Oh, yeah. Your online presence is everything these days.
Bet David argues that it's crucial to have that strong online presence. You need to be able to articulate your value proposition clearly and concisely.
You got to stand out from the crowd.
He gives some advice on how to build your brand. Creating a compelling online profile, sharing your expertise through content marketing, and using social media strategically.
It's about putting yourself out there and letting people know what you're all about.
And of course, he stresses the importance of authenticity, because people can smell a fake a mile away.
Exactly. It's about building trust and credibility by consistently delivering value and showcasing your expertise.
It's about being genuine.
Now, as your business starts to grow, he emphasizes the importance of delegation,
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one.
letting go of control.
A lot of entrepreneurs struggle with it, but he makes a good point. A lot of us fall into the trap of trying to do everything ourselves.
And it burns you out. You
Yeah.
can't possibly scale your business if you're doing everything.
But David encourages us to identify our strengths, focus on the tasks we excel at, and delegate the rest.
But delegating effectively is a skill in itself, right?
Oh, absolutely. He gives some great tips on choosing the right people to delegate to, communicating clearly, providing the necessary support and guidance.
It's about empowering your team, not just dumping tasks on them.
Exactly. And this all ties into one of the most important things he talks about, building a strong team.
The foundation of any successful business. He argues that no one can achieve great things alone. We need to surround ourselves with talented, dedicated people who share our vision.
People who complement your strengths and fill in your gaps.
He offers some advice on how to build that dream team, how to identify the right people to hire, how to create a positive and supportive work environment, how to motivate and inspire those team members.
It's about creating a culture where people thrive.
And he really stresses the importance of building trust and rapport within the team. Strong relationships are essential for effective collaboration and communication.
And I think that's one of the things that David does so well. He builds those strong relationships with the people around him.
He leads by example. And one thing that's particularly interesting about his approach to team building is his emphasis on diversity.
Oh, yeah. Diversity is so important.
He argues that diverse teams are just more innovative, more creative, and more effective at solving problems.
Because you've got all these different perspectives and experiences coming together.
Exactly. He encourages us to seek out people from different backgrounds with different skill sets, different ways of thinking.
And it's not just about ticking boxes, right?
No, it's about creating a culture of inclusion where everyone feels valued and respected, like they truly belong. Now let's circle back to one of the core messages of the book, that idea of thinking 5 moves ahead.
The chess game of business.
It's all about being strategic, anticipating those challenges and opportunities, having a plan to navigate them.
So many people are just reacting to what's right in front of them. They're not thinking long term.
Bet David believes that to truly succeed, you got to be thinking several steps ahead. He encourages us to think like chess masters, considering those long-term consequences of our actions.
It's like having that 360-degree vision. You're not just focused on what's right in front of you.
And he gives us that framework for strategic thinking, asking ourselves those key questions. What are our goals? What are the potential obstacles? What are our options?
It's a great way to map out those different scenarios and make more informed decisions.
What's fascinating is that he applies this thinking 5 moves ahead concept to other areas of life too, not just business.
Oh, right. So personal finances, relationships, health, all of it.
Exactly. He talks about planning for the future, both financially and personally. He also emphasizes the importance of building strong relationships, both professionally and personally.
Those are the relationships that sustain us.
And one of the more challenging parts of his message, but also one of the most important, is his emphasis on personal accountability.
Owning your choices, your successes and your failures.
He argues that we can't blame our circumstances for our shortcomings. We are ultimately responsible for the choices we make and the outcomes we create.
It's about taking control of your life, not letting life control you.
Exactly. He challenges us to set those ambitious goals, develop the discipline to achieve them. He wants us to confront our fears, step outside our comfort zones.
Because that's where the magic happens, when you push past those limits.
Yeah, and he reminds us that failure is just a part of the journey.
It's not the opposite of success. It's a stepping stone.
He encourages us to embrace those failures, analyze those mistakes, and extract those valuable lessons.
So we can come back stronger and smarter.
And throughout the book, he sprinkles in these amazing stories of people who have overcome incredible odds to achieve success. It's so inspiring.
Those stories are like fuel. They remind us that anything is possible.
If you're willing to put in the work, persevere, and never give up on yourself. So as we wrap up our deep dive into your next 5 moves, I'm curious to hear your final thoughts. What resonated most with you?
I think what I appreciate most about Bet David's approach is that he combines that practicality with inspiration.
He gives you the tools and the motivation to take action.
Exactly. He pushes you to think bigger, to step up, to create a life that aligns with your values and makes a positive impact on the world.
A powerful message. And for those who want to dive even deeper into Bet David's ideas and find resources to support their journey, I highly recommend checking out lingopediamagazine.com.
They've got courses, ebooks, all sorts of great stuff to help you put these strategies into practice.
We've covered a lot of ground today, but ultimately this book reminds us that success is a journey, not a destination.
And each of us has the power to define what success means for ourselves.
Don't forget to subscribe, share, and like this podcast so you don't miss out on future deep dives. Thanks for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.